Hello friends, welcome to Akul Mac Live and I am Chandrakant. Recently, Supreme Court of India came out with a ruling which is related to alimony. And it is also related to how much alimony a wife can claim from husband or vice versa, whichever the case may be, as per the law of India. And to discuss this very important judgment by Supreme Court, I will be joined by a distinguished guest in our studio who is joining us from Ahmedabad. Before I go and bring my guest, I have to tell you that you can now point your mobile phone camera onto this QR code, which is on display right now, right there. And this QR code will be visible throughout the length of the video. This is a very, very user-friendly way to get connected without typing long, web addresses and typing different codes. All you have to do is just point your camera and you will get connected to our channel instantly. So friends, don't go anywhere. I'll be back with my guest very soon. Welcome back to Legal Matters, friends. And today we have a very distinguished guest in our studio, Mr. Jeet Bhatt, joining from Ahmedabad, and we also have a very interesting subject. Jeet, how are you doing today?
Hello, Chandrakant. Thank you for having me. I'm good. Thank you. How are you?
All well. I think, Jeet, I have one very pressing question at hand, which is about the maintenance laws in India and typically maintenance of wife. So we want to ask and take your opinion today about this particular law.
Yes, Chandrakant, absolutely. It's a very important issue with regards to matrimonial laws in India. And as you are aware, we don't have a uniform civil code. So every religion is governed by their own customs and practices, which have later on been enacted as particular laws of their own religion. So, but there are special laws which covers all the religions in India. And particularly, there are three laws which govern all citizens, irrespective of their religion. And they are the Special Marriage Act of 1954, then provisions for maintenance of wife, children, and parents under Section 125 of the Code of Criminal Procedure. And the third, which is the latest enactment, is the Protection of Women from Domestic Violence Act of 2005, which is also known as the DV Act or Domestic Violence Act, which also provides for a statutory remedy to women, irrespective of the religious community to which they belong, and apart from the personal laws applicable to various religious communities. So these are the three basic laws which govern irrespective of religious community. And apart from which, there are several laws in place with regards to different religions as well. So if we talk about Hindus, the law governing the matrimonial disputes is covered under the Hindu Marriage Act and also Hindu Adoption and Maintenance Act. So these two are the primary acts which govern the matrimonial laws with regards to Hindus. But we will be speaking in general about the maintenance of wife, which are not religious specific and which govern to all religions. So basically, the major act which provides for safety and security of women, because it is also an issue of social justice, and therefore maintenance is very important, because we see several times that if women are abused or if they are subject to domestic violence, and if they are thrown out or if they do not have a means to survive themselves, then it becomes very difficult for them in the society to survive. And therefore, with regards to such situation, there are particular acts which ensure that the woman does not become a destitute, or the condition of vagrancy does not arise in her case. And therefore, she has remedies under the law wherein she can approach the courts under different acts and seek maintenance under different heads, again from the husband. So we will be discussing broadly these special features when a woman would be entitled to maintenance, under what conditions, and what are the laws and what are the Supreme Court judgments with regards to the issue in hand.
Well, one question I have is that in any marriage or any relationship, there are always two parties, and in this case, it's a marriage, so there are parties which is husband and wife, and there could be instance where women can be upper sex and men can be a lower sex. So in that case, how the code looks at this matter? Can men apply for maintenance from a woman?
Well, yes, that's a very good and interesting question. Actually, the problem of vagrancy and destitution is particularly with respect to women in majority of cases. But why special laws for women is also an important question is because the Constitution itself provides under Article 15, Clause 3, which says that nothing in Article 15 can prevent the state from making any special provision for women and children. So, why a law only for women and not for men is because the Constitution itself provides that nothing in the provisions of equality can restrict the state from providing for special enactments for women and children. And also because women and children have been considered as cannot be, though they are of course equal, but sometimes they cannot be equated with men in all spheres of life, and therefore there are special provisions are required for women and children, and therefore there are special provisions with regards to maintenance as well. But the next question which you ask is, yes, sometimes men are also subject to domestic violence and cruelty, and if they are a lower sex, then there are two provisions. The Hindu Adoption and Maintenance Act with regards to Hindus, and during the subsistence of marriage, the husband can also claim for maintenance. It is gender neutral. Also, with regards to Domestic Violence Act of 2005, the Supreme Court recently held that the husband can also claim maintenance against wife if the husband is subjected to domestic violence or domestic abuse. So therefore, there are provisions where husband can also claim. But with respect to provision under Hindu Marriage Act and Section 125 of the CRPC, the provisions are specifically for women, not for men. So there are provisions for men when they can also seek maintenance if the woman is in a position to not just to maintain herself, but she's in a position much far better than the husband. And if the husband is not in a position to maintain himself and if the wife is neglecting the husband, then in such circumstances under domestic violence as well as the Hindu Adoption and Maintenance Act, the husband can claim maintenance from the wife. But what are the parameters I would like to just mention? Because as the Supreme Court has said that this is an issue of social justice, and Constitution provides that the special provisions can be made for women and children. These acts have been have provided for maintenance to wife and children, and the major act under which the wives go before the court are the provisions under Code of Criminal Procedure, particularly Section 125 of the CRPC, where the wife has been claiming maintenance from the husband from the enactment of this act. Now, the conditions required for claiming of maintenance is that the wife has been neglected by the husband, and the husband is in a position to maintain himself and also as a position wherein he ought to maintain his wife as well. So if he has sufficient means and if he neglects to maintain his wife, then it is the duty and onus of the husband under the custom, tradition, and also under the society and the societal laws in India, that it is the duty of the husband to maintain the wife. And therefore, such provision is provided in the Code of Criminal Procedure, that if he has sufficient means and if he neglects to maintain his wife, then he is under an obligation, and not just a moral obligation, but also a legal obligation to maintain the wife. And therefore, this special provision has been enacted, where the husband's obligation is prescribed under Section 125 if he has sufficient means and if he neglects to maintain his wife. So the purpose of this provision is to prevent vagrancy and destitution of a deserted wife by providing her food, clothing, and shelter by a speedy remedy. So the provision prescribes that the proceedings under Section 125 have to be completed within a period of 60 days. Also under domestic violence, the interim application has to be decided within a period of 60 days. So these are very fast-track procedure. Section 125 is also a summary proceeding, so it's a fast-track procedure where within 60 days time period is prescribed, and the proceedings have to be, at least an interim compensation has to be decided by the courts with respect to maintenance of wife. Now, therefore, these are provisions which provide for speedy remedy to the wife, where the wife has been deserted or wife has been neglected or wife has been thrown out or she's subject to domestic violence or domestic abuse in India. Now, what are the conditions and under when a wife can claim maintenance and what the court has to decide while considering the quantum of interim maintenance or maintenance has been held by Supreme Court in a recent judgment of Rajneesh versus Neha, where the Supreme Court, laying down the entire law, clarifying different subjects, has also given an enclosure that the husband and wife both have to submit an affidavit of disclosure, disclosing their assets and liabilities before the court with deciding the quantum of maintenance. Now, the parameters for when the court can grant maintenance are that the court has to consider the reasonable wants of the wife. The independent income and property of the wife is also to be considered. The number of persons the husband has to maintain. The amount should aid the applicant to live in a similar lifestyle as she enjoyed in a matrimonial home. So it should not be a mere small or minimum amount required for maintenance, but she should be in a position to enjoy a similar lifestyle as she enjoyed before they were living together in a matrimonial house. So the court also has to decide on the husband's liabilities, then the costs for provisions of food, clothing, shelter, education, medical attendance, and treatment, etc. of the wife. Also, the court has to ascertain the payment capacity of the husband, and the cost of litigation is also to be provided by the husband if it is proved or if it is shown that the husband is neglecting to maintain the wife. So these are the broad parameters. But what the court has done recently in this landmark judgment is that the affidavit of disclosure has to be given in, and it has been mandated by the Supreme Court to all courts deciding maintenance under Section 125 or any other maintenance application under different laws, that the affidavit of assets and liabilities have to be provided by both the husband and wife, wherein the 3 years of income tax return of the wife as well as the husband, also the details of dependent family members of the wife and husband, the details of the children and their expenses, the details of income of the wife as well as the husband, and also the assets and liabilities, whichever the assets have been investments, etc., which are movable as well as immovable, owned by the husband as well as the wife. So based on this, the court can come to a fair analysis of how much the husband is earning and what is his capacity, what is his lifestyle. And based on that, the court can decide how much amount of maintenance the court can ask the husband to pay in order to maintain the wife and her children if they are minor. So this is what has become mandatory under the law. And this is a very, very welcome step, because till now, what used to happen is that the husbands always used to evade their income. They would not disclose to the court how much their income, how much their assets, how much their liabilities were. And the court was not in a position to come to a conclusion as to what the husband would be earning or what his lifestyle would be. And therefore, always the husband would be asked to pay a minimum maintenance amount, which would not even meet the ends for the wife, or would not be in a position to maintain herself only with that maintenance amount. So recently, this is a very good Supreme Court judgment in the matter of Rajneesh versus Neha. The Supreme Court has elaborated on the law and also given this affidavit of disclosure, where the husband and wife both have to disclose how much they are earning, how much their assets, liabilities are, and based on that, the court can come to the conclusion on how much the maintenance the wife is entitled to.
Well, Jeet, I think this is a very welcome move, and it's a quite nice judgment. I have, however, one question which is related to the assets, because here we are discussing we have to submit the affidavit and describe all the assets. So is the inheritance also covered here, or is it kept out of this particular law, where husband and wife inherit the parental property, will that be considered as an asset?
With respect to yes, absolutely, because inheritance can either be on a property which is flowing from generation to generation, or it is given from father to son, or to daughter. So both can be considered as assets, and he has to disclose as to how much income he is deriving from that asset. Because sometimes what happens is there is a lot of rent property which the husband would be deriving, which he would never disclose in a court otherwise. So he has to disclose as to what those properties, not just the worth, but also how much income he is deriving on how much earning he has. So the court can come to a picture as to, in order to decide how much alimony or how much maintenance amount the wife can be entitled to.
Very nice, Jeet. I think thank you so much for coming over to our show and telling our viewers about this new development where from now on, in any estranged marriage cases where there are petition for divorce or petition for alimony, whenever there are such cases in the court, both husband and wife will have to submit affidavit giving complete details of their earning, income and assets, which will help court to decide how much alimony wife is supposed to get. So Jeet, thank you so much for coming over and talking to our viewers about this particular change.
Thank you, Chandrakant, for having me. It's my pleasure.
So we'll catch up next week in the next episode of Legal Matters. Until then, I'd like to say goodbye for today.
Thank you and goodbye.